Good morning. This is Deborah Matthews, Vicar of Fairwood, with my thought for today. During the last couple of weeks, I've had many occasions when we've been thinking about moving on or saying goodbye. It's definitely not my strong point, and I find it hard not to get emotional. For example, when I'm at school leaving services. And this is particularly true when I see the children getting emotional as well. I immediately empathise with them and am then thinking about all the little goodbyes that I have faced over the years. At the last service I attended last week, I was thinking for a moment or two about being back at my junior school at the final assembly when I was 11. Of course, that was quite a long time ago. But as I get older, I do seem to remember things that happened a long time ago better than I remember what happened last week. Not the details, perhaps, but the emotions that accompanied the events. I can remember singing the hymn, which I have always called To Be a Pilgrim. This was our school hymn, and appropriate for making and marking the changes in our lives. As we leave our first schools, we have to face saying goodbye to our teachers and some of our school friends who are going on their separate ways. And we have to let go of the familiar routines with the knowledge that nothing will ever be quite the same again. This sounds a bit bleak, but it's just one of the many times that we will face challenges and change upon our journeys. As we get older and reflect upon times in our lives, we can often trace a feeling of sadness back to one of those goodbyes, maybe even in church or in the school assembly hall. I thought at the time, I will always remember this when I was sat there on my last assembly, and I always have remembered it. And as I reflect now upon the words of To Be a Pilgrim, I can perhaps see some reality in the words, which were at the time quite unreal to me. I loved the hymn, but I found the language a bit disturbing, or at least unusual, because I wasn't into reading about goblins. The words of this hymn came from John Bunyan's The Pilgrim's Progress, and he wrote this in the 17th century. But despite the goblins and foul fiends, its message still stands. It tells of the journey of Christian and his friends, learning from their mistakes on their journey to God. And it also describes, in this imaginative imagery, the challenges that they encountered along the way. The language, which I found puzzling as a child, was modified in 1906 by Percy Dearmer, but the version I learned at school still included, when I was singing it then and even today in some hymn books, the foul fiends and goblins. But today I think that these vivid pictures can in fact represent well the struggles the pilgrim faces on life's journey. The Pilgrim's Progress has been quoted as arguably the most famous published Christian allegory in the Church of England. John Bunyan is remembered with a lesser festival on the 30th of August, and I will be remembering him in church at morning prayer on that day. We are all on a journey, whether or not we think of ourselves as pilgrims. A couple of weeks ago, 10 of us from St. Michael's Church went on a short retreat at Hillfield Friary, where we were thinking about our journeys in life and our journey of faith. We looked at our lives to reflect upon the pertinent moments of sadness or joy, and to see how our life stories are never just a straight line. There are always highs and lows, which we must navigate along the way. Being a pilgrim does not mean we have to travel geographically. It can also be an inner journey of transformation that leads us nearer to our true home. Whether we are facing changes in our lives as we get older, or just starting out at the beginning of our journey at school, we pray for the courage to face our ups and downs, trusting that we never have to walk alone. God bless you on your journey of life.